G'day everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of the Ruin Hammer live show, where we talk all things 1NZ Warriors. Thank you all for joining us. So tonight we're going to take a look at the Warriors' very disappointing Round 8 ANZAC Day loss to the Titans, and we'll take a quick look at all the other results from Round 8 of the NRL and preview the all-important Round 9 matches coming up, and especially our game against the Knights on Sunday. So guys, don't adjust your screens. Don't think you've tuned into the wrong show. Hammer is unfortunately a bit unwell tonight, so he's come down with something. So we hope you feel better soon, mate, and be back on deck with us. But we're joined by a very special guest. He doesn't really need an introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. Brad Ingar, the man, the myth, the legend, the host of The Standoff, NZ Sports Radio. You guys all know him. How you been, mate? How was your day?
Yeah, good, thanks. Got the last minute call up. Always ready to jump in and give a hand. So yeah, did our show last night. It was a long one, but a lot of it's still in there, so I should hopefully be able to contribute a bit. But yeah, my week's been good. Can't really complain. A week on from a game we're about to talk about, and I thought it was out of my memories until you made me come on here to talk about it.
I know. I'm sorry about that, mate. It does feel like ages ago that we were watching it, doesn't it? It was a bit weird. The like with those 3 games on ANZAC Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. As you guys know, I'm a massive NBA fan. It's playoffs time, and unfortunately, my beloved Miami Heat just couldn't quite cut the mustard against the Boston Celtics. I know a few of you guys watching Celtics fans, and so well done. You got through the first round. I think I knew once we got past the playing game that we were just extending our season by about 4 or 5 games. That's what happened. You're an NBA, you're a Lakers fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I know your pain.
So you're out as well.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, right. I wasn't expecting much. So I was surprised we got where we got, to be fair. So yeah, Take the licks and keep moving on.
Yeah, that's it. We seem to like doing it the hard way, getting through 2 play-in games. Last year was just a fairy tale run, but yeah, couldn't repeat that. No Jimmy Butler. No chance, unfortunately. But yeah, as you said, is what it is. We roll with the punches. So as Sean said, as long as the Clippers lose, I don't think they'll be lifting any trophies this year, but yeah, we'll see. All right, before we get into tonight's show, I do invite you, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the YouTube channel and jump on the Facebook page as well. Show your support of the streaming content that we make. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our wonderful Patreon supporters on all social media platforms, and in particular, our generous Patreon subscribers whose donation and support enables us to continue to bring you the content and guests that you guys enjoy so much. And a reminder to everyone that has turned in tonight, the reason we do the show live is to get the involvement of you guys watching. So please, as we move through the discussion points, join the conversation and leave your comments. But please be aware that we do have current and ex-players and their families that watch this webcast. So please keep your comments respectful and refrain from making them personal or derogatory in nature. So, mate, as we just touched on, unfortunately, I'm going to make you relive it again. But yeah, last Thursday, ANZAC Day, we've waited a long time to get an ANZAC Day game back at Mount Smart Stadium or Go Media Stadium. It finally happened, and it appeared that the stage was set. We hosted the Gold Coast Titans, and that was our first time hosting an ANZAC Day game since we played them back in 2015. And prior to the game, the Warriors, they hosted a ANZAC ceremony. It was full of pride and emotion. Mate, you were there at the stadium. Tell us a bit about the pre-game ceremony.
Yeah, so I covered it a bit last night as well, but I thought they did a great job. I think the only criticism I had was something they can't help, which was I feel it always looks better at night.
Yeah.
But that's because, for the last almost decade, we used to watch them at night in Melbourne. But they had like tanks and all sorts around the outskirts of the field for people to go look at before the game. They had a helicopter drop off the match ball, and then they had the Army/Navy band go out there with their little drums, and they did some songs, and then they got into what we traditionally expect which is the anthems, the final post, and all that. And yeah, I was quite impressed. They always deliver when it comes to pre-match entertainment. This Warriors outfit since they've come back to New Zealand, and yeah, I think the only criticism I had, and I know people that watched it had, was that the poor guy singing the New Zealand anthem's mic wasn't working. They didn't fix it because at halftime they came out and performed again, and he was still having the same issue with his mic. Right. It's unfortunate to hear the Australian anthem nice and loud and then have to rely on the crowd.
That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah. But it kind of was an early indicator of what was going to happen that day.
Set the stage, set the tone for the day.
Yeah, but I think they definitely put the right foot down in terms of what you should expect from them whenever they have an ANZAC Day game. I think it's a good platform to build on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it becomes a bit of a tradition that we do get to start hosting some games back at Go Media Stadium. And I better be careful what I wish for. It'd be nice if we have the Titans every year. But then again, weren't we thinking that when the draw came out this year?
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, Webby, he named a very strong 17. Jacob Laban, he started in the back row for the injured Kurt Capewell. Dylan Walker was a big inclusion on the bench, returning from injury. Charles Nickel-Kluxter played his 100th NRL game. And Zion Mayu, he made his first grade debut, NRL debut, becoming Warrior 287. As we all know, it did end up in a 27-24 defeat at the hands of the Titans. The Warriors 24 points. Fanua Blake with a double. You'd have to be happy about that. The props dominating the try scoring.
Mate, it was the one game this year I haven't put money on Fanua Blake to score. And
of course, he gets a double.
And he did.
To be fair, he's probably the only bloke that looked like scoring for us for most of the game. But
for a lot of
it. Nickel-Kluxter got a try in his 100th game, so that was good to see. And Rocco Berry with a try. Johnson 4 from 4. Titans 27 points. Brimson with a double. Boyd, Fafita, Khan Pereira tries. Boyd 3 from 5. And the field goal. I've got to say, mate, it followed a very similar pattern from pretty much the whole of season 2024 so far. We got off to a really hot start. 12-0 after less than 10 minutes. We were looking great. Some good-looking attack. Nickel-Kluxter going over early for his 100th game, and then scoring in his 100th game, and then big AFB going in under the sticks, and you're thinking, oh, this attack, we're on. And, unfortunately, it's just these little temporary lapses that are inviting the opposition back into the game. And I think it's when Dallin comes off his wing, when Brian Kelly's covered, finds Khan Pereira streaking down the sideline, Brimson back on the inside, and they scored. And one of the things that we were discussing on last week's show is one of the danger areas for the Titans is their speed out wide. Yeah. And they exploited that all afternoon. Khan Pereira, Brian Kelly, Brimson was a constant menace. And it just kind of felt in that first half. After that moment, we just completely released the pressure valve and we let them straight back into the game. Is that how you saw it?
Yeah, I think I worded it in a way in my review this week that a trend that I don't like seeing with them at the moment is the first hint of adversity, they kind of wilt, which is something that wasn't in there last year. We kind of could guarantee on them, how many times did we see Jackson Ford last year give away 6 agains, and they just kept buckling down and stopping whatever was thrown at them, where this year it seems to be the moment like there's an error or a penalty, it's almost guaranteed points for the opposition.
We don't seem to be able to defend our errors at all. And that's what happened at the back end of that first half. Like they got 3 opportunities and put on 3 tries, and we just didn't seem to have any answer. And they were busting tackles. Like we were like dragging them down just short of the line. It looked like we were hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of positives to take out of it. It's just when they're losing, it's very hard. I think I said it. I can't remember if I said it on the show last night, if it was before we went live. When Khan Pereira scored his try in the 42nd minute, until Zion got on, I lost all interest in the game, which has never happened. I sat there. I think I was messaging you guys, messaging Rich, checking my Facebook. I wasn't really paying attention, which has never happened to me before. It was just, it felt like they were just, it felt like that try is like, oh, they're going to score another 4 or 5 and we're going to get smashed here. And then Zion's family were in front of where I sit. So that kind of helped with the excitement of when he got to come on.
Give you a bit of energy.
Yeah, and that's what he did when he came on. He like got the whole stadium back, because the stadium, it wasn't just me. There was a lot of people. It just sucked all the life out of the crowd.
I was going to say, it must have just completely taken the stuffing out of it.
Yeah, and then when he came on and actually looked like he was trying, which is such a cliche thing to say that the players aren't trying, but he was giving 100% with everything he got, and it just it got everyone back into it, and I think it also lifted the side. But there's a lot of work to be done, unfortunately. But you don't win the grand final in May, so
no, we won't be time. Like your Dragons, who always used to be the May premiers.
Yeah,
we don't want to be. It's interesting. Mark and I have had this discussion a fair bit. Like last year, we had that really good start. We had that little hiccup around Magic Round where we played those really tough games. And then we had like a really good middle sort of third of the season. But then we sort of started to run out of steam at the back end of last year, and it was just kind of a blessing in disguise, I suppose, that we had like some easier games to finish the season, and we kept chalking up those wins. But let's just hope it's a reverse of that, like maybe something like 2008, where we just used to get the wind in our sails at the back end and sail through. But you don't want to peak too early. But there's a lot of concerning signs, and as you said, unable to defend our mistakes, which used to be a hallmark of the Webby Warriors from last year, and giving away the discipline, like giving away penalties, giving away 6 again on like the 4th tackle and that kind of thing. And the Titans came out after the break and they put on those 2 quick tries out on that edge. And again, like it was just, like Berry getting caught out in defense a couple of times and exposing the winger. And it was just some easy points. They've got speed all across the park. At that point in time when they went up by 27 points to 12, you're thinking this could be, they could go on and get 50 here, the ease that they were scoring the tries.
Yeah.
But as you said, when Zion came through, he did sort of change, he did up the tempo. And that's when the tide, you could sense the tide had turned, and we were starting to finish over the top of the Titans. We're getting all that possession. We got the AFB barge over try to narrow the gap. Well, then there was the Roger try before that. And it just seemed like that was the way our afternoon/season was going. Like here we go. And I said to my dad, like, I bet you they find something to go back and have a look at here. And of course, unfortunately, there was a bit of a bobble in the play of the ball there from Wade Egan. And I think, as much as we'd like to say that was a 50-50 one, I think that's a knock on most days of the week. So, we didn't get that.
I can live with that one. Berry's one that he got taken away, I can't. I think that one was a real 50-50 call. That was a bit unlucky. But I can live with the Egan knock on, especially with what happened to Uppy later on in the round. So I can live with that one. But the one where they said it was a knock on by Dallin, when you couldn't see anything, and if anything, if it did touch, it went backwards anyway.
If he awards that, then they have no choice but to stay with the on-field decision. Like there's not conclusive evidence to overturn that. So it's just one of those things. Rocco, before that, Rocco Berry did get a try, actually contesting a bomb this time. Seems to have been the tactic to kick to the corners. We seem to be targeting Khan Pereira's wing as well. And I don't know whether that was a deliberate ploy to take him out of the game a little bit, to tire him out. I don't know. But this time Rocco contested it, takes the bomb and scores the try. And at this point, there's still about 15 minutes left. And you're thinking, we're on here. We got it back to 27 points to 24. And after that, we had all the ball. Like, we had enough possession to win 3 or 4 games of footy. And I don't know about you, but I could not believe some of the attack that we were dishing out. It was just, we were just throwing nothing at them. I'll give the Titans credit. Like, they did well to hang on because they were under siege for that last 15 minutes and we were just hammering their line. But again, it's like the side-to-side stuff. We weren't really making space out on the edges for our outside backs. And then we were resorting to the barge over again. Like, it was like the AFB got a couple of barge over tries. So it seemed like we were going back to that a lot, just inside ball to forward trying to score. And then after that, it was almost like we were out of ideas and we just kept doing the cross-field kicks. And it's just that was horrendous attack in that last 15 minutes, in my opinion. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it could be just as simple as you've got a halfback out there with a bung leg, and the Titans were rushing, and they had more time to get up and rush him. And once you're up in his face, it limits your options.
Yeah.
So you go back to what is second nature, which doesn't win your footy for a lot of the time. So I think it's part and parcel of that. And I think at the moment there's a lack of confidence. How many times in the past few weeks have we seen Sean put on a sweet flat ball that gets dropped? So there could be second thoughts in there on, can I risk this? We really need to get one. I need to give it to a guy I know is going to, deliver every time. So you go back to that big Tongan in the middle. I don't know. I feel I might be just making excuses for them. But yeah, it feels like there's two plays. There's adding up the middle, you fling it out to Dallin. And you hope that one of those
definitely
works.
Seemed like that. Yeah. I mean, those face balls close to the line. And I mean, they were sort of reading that. They were eating it up. Look, I mean, they defended well. And they were desperate. It's for their to get their first win of the season. So I'll take nothing away from the Titans. I mean, they came to play, and what better occasion is it than to play on Anzac Day and play in front of a big crowd. We all knew Kieran Foran was going to have a big game.
He loves it.
He does. So and I was sitting there watching it, and I sort of turned to my dad and said, "Look, I really can't see us scoring here. I really can't see how we win this game." And unfortunately, that was the case. So we went down 27 points to 24. We've been saying it for what? Like, we've been saying it for the last couple of years. In Webby, we trust. But, as we've talked about for the last few weeks, there's some serious cracks in our performances, like some serious issues that we need to address. One thing that we were going to discuss was why a guy like Mayu, who he, as you said clearly, lifted the intensity when he came on and changed the momentum. Why wasn't he left out there for longer? Why was it only 12 minutes? Is it because he's a debutant and they didn't want to throw him straight into the den of lions? I don't know, but it's a curious one, isn't it? You think if he was making that big an impact, clearly turned the tide of the game, then he wasn't left out there a bit longer.
I went controversial last night and said it's because Andrew Webster doesn't like Zion. Said, he waited to the very last minute to let him debut when he should have debuted against the Dragons.
Should have. Yeah, definitely should have.
And then, gave him a couple of minutes. I guess that's all, being farcical. But I think giving him a debut at home in front of his family was probably more of that reason. The limited minutes, maybe like go out. We're not going to give you a lot. It's your first game. Go out, give everything you've got. Limited time. I probably wanted to taken him off myself. And he didn't. When he came to the sideline, he didn't look gassed. So I think he could have gone a bit longer. But it's a thing. It's an ongoing thing. I know we've all said it, and we trust. The only thing I don't trust him with is the interchange, and that hasn't changed from last year. I complained about it left, right, and centre. He doesn't know how to use his bench properly. be it who he's got on the bench or the minutes he gives. You know, how many times did we talk about it last year where Tom Ali got 5 minutes? You know, and
for guys that don't even get on.
Or and like I'll give him a pass with the Roach last week because I feel Roach was we don't know if Sean's going to make it through the game. Wade Egan every 2 or 3 games gets injured. I feel like Roach was just we're going to have you here just in case one of those two break.
Egan like scares us all the time, mate. I think every single game he goes down, it's like, oh no, he's got another injury or something here. Like happened again in the ANZAC Day game. Jeez.
But yeah, so that one I give him a pass on, but the other forwards, you know, just giving them very little minutes. I think there was a comment earlier about a lot, if not all the points the Titans got were when Adden and Barnett were both off at the same time. I think you've got to stagger. So you maybe Adden's got a bigger motor, so he stays out longer. When Barnett comes off, bring on like a Bunty or a Tom, or even if you want, push Barnett for the first 30 and then get like a Zion on at the 30-minute mark, give him that 10 minutes to half time, then give him another 10 minutes at the other half, and then you bring him Barney back on to like soldier out the rest of the game or something. There's ways you can use half time as almost like an extra interchange. But yeah, I don't know. That's a prop trying to tell a coach what to do. All props like to think they can go out there and play 80. So I think there's way. That's the weak link I have with him at the moment. That's something you learn. I think I made a comparison. It's not like David Kidwell where he forgets that there's a player on the bench. When he
One
took
of your great coaches.
when he took Jason Tomahawk off for the Kiwis and never put him back on because he forgot he was there. So it's not like that. But I think there's fine-tuning around that. And I think he probably has a plan for when his normal 17 are there. Like, this is what we're doing. At the moment, it's a bit higgledy-piggledy because a lot of those players aren't there. But yeah, that's the issue. And I feel we might see it a bit better this week. We've got basically 3 of his normal 17 in terms of the bench back with Bunty, Ali, and Walker. So I think we'll see it closer. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that shortly with our preview of that game. But just some of the key stats from our Anzac Day game. So we had 52% possession, 87% completion rate, 1,930 run meters compared to 1,584 for the Titans. And a lot of that would have come in that last 15, 20 minutes where we were just busting them up the middle the whole time and getting ourselves in the good field position. Unfortunately, as we said, we couldn't ice it. But, we're certainly getting ourselves into the red zone. And 764 post-contact meters to 612 for the Titans. Here's some of the key stats for you. Unfortunately, they're not great ones. 43 missed tackles to the Warriors, to 35 to the Titans. 9 errors. And 5 penalties conceded to the Titans 3. So, as we said before, the discipline really needs to be brushed up on there. They're extremely costly. The 43 missed tackles, and some of those are in try-scoring situations as well. Unfortunately, Berry in the last couple of weeks has missed a couple of one-on-one tackles and that have been crucial. Other than that, he's been outstanding in defence all year. So, look, there was a couple of really good performers for the Warriors, though. Chance in his 100th game, he's almost come back in career best form from his hamstring injury. 289 meters, 94 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 1 line break, and 1 line break assist, and the try as well. Dallin had a very mixed game. So he made 192 meters, 76 post contact, 5 tackle breaks. Strong carries the ball, but some bad defensive decisions and that very, very ill-advised offload early in that second half as well was pretty crucial. For Zion as well, he made 77 meters, 39 post-contact meters and 5 tackles in his very short stint. Walker was great coming back and bringing what we know he brings, and that's that injection of energy. He had 107 meters, 27 post-contact, 2 tackle breaks, 1 line break assist, and 1 offload. And, yeah, we know what we're going to get with Walker. And, of course, AFB was absolutely huge, put us on his back. 217 meters, 98 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 27 tackles. So with that in mind, when we're doing our 3-2-1, as we do for our Dean Bell medal here at Ruin Hammer, I gave my 3 points to Aden Fanua-Blake, 2 points to Chancellor Cook. So I gave 1 point to Dylan Walker. Hammer, he went 3 for AFB, 2 for CNK, 1 for RTS. I probably don't need to ask you who your standouts were, but how about yourself? You had to do a 3-2-1.
I do a 3-2-1 every week as well. I just don't tell anyone. I always forget to post it. But yeah, I had Eden, Chance, Tohu were my 3-2-1 in that order. I always I feel like it's a guilty gift to Tohu because Tohu always gets ignored. He does because
he does the job every week. Like he's always at least a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, you only talk about him if he for some reason had a real bad game. Which can you remember the last time that ever happened? So yeah, I gave him 1. But yeah, there's your guys' picks are pretty spot on as well. There wasn't too many to like highlight in a real positive way. So it's a smaller pool to pick from.
For sure, yeah. Just a few comments coming in the chat about the halves. So a few people questioning Tomato Martin's impact in the game. I thought he was okay without being brilliant on Anzac Day. And do you think we're really missing Luke Metcalf and his speed and X factor? How do you see that 5'8" role sort of?
I don't think to be honest, I think it would be exactly the same. I think right now the Warriors are playing a Sean heavy game where Sean's not really giving to the 6 a lot. That's a completely prop based look at the game and what those pretty boy halves do. But I feel like you're getting about this. The only thing you're missing is that little bit of spark. But then in saying that, the little bit of spark I remember we saw from Luke Metcalf was that cut on the inside try. And then in Tamati's first game, he did the exact same thing. So when push comes to shove, he will do it. But at the moment, I feel like they're not really giving him the ball on the left to do much with. And the left's not really getting into any decent attacking plays. So I feel if that exact same situation you have Metcalf, you probably get the same result. But he's got X factor, which is always a great thing to have.
Speed. You can't coach speed.
You can't coach speed.
Yeah, neither of them have a particularly outstanding kicking game. I suppose they don't have to when you got Sean in the team. We haven't seen a lot of kicking from Metcalf, and Tomato Martin's hardly kicked at all, to be honest. And yeah, we saw when he and Dylan Walker played in the halves in that Penrith final last year, the kicking game was horrendous. Yeah. So it's probably not his strong suit, but anyway, hope onwards and upwards. Hopefully, has a return to form this week. Just quickly with our 3-2-1, so we do that every week so far. Our season ranking, so Aden Fanua-Blake, no surprises. He's way out in front in our leaderboard, 22. The next closest is Chance on 12, Wade Egan and Tohu on 11, Mitch Barnett on 10, and then there's a bit of a procession further down with guys on 9, 7, 4, 2, and 1. So, Aden Fanua-Blake, if anyone thought that he was going to phone it in this year, despite signing for the Sharks, actually, he's been far and away one of our best players, if not our best player this season. So I'm sure you'd agree with that, mate.
Yeah, I'm hijacking now. I'm looking at my little spreadsheet where I keep track, and he's leading mine with 11 points so far.
About the same as us. Yeah.
Tohu's second and Chance is third on mine overall.
Yeah, exactly the same as us. Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, it is good to see him actually giving a shit, I guess, which is what a lot of people expected he wouldn't. But
shows his heart's in it, shows how much he cares about the club and the jersey and everything. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah.
Just going around the grounds for our lower grades, New South Wales Cup. It was Warriors versus Panthers at North Harbour Stadium. The Warriors went down 22 points to 23 to the Panthers there. Pathways. Now, this was a good one, wasn't it? Harold Matthews Grand Final. Warriors versus Magpies at CommBank Stadium. How good was that? 34 points to 16 victory in the Grand Final. So the Harold Matthews Cup side defied all odds to take out the 2024 Harold Matthews Cup Grand Final 34 to 16 in the first season. The Junior Warriors won 8 of their past 9 games to claim that maiden premiership, disposing of 3 undefeated teams in the final series. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talented bunch of young men with genuine pathways through to first grade, which is probably one of the most exciting aspects of this victory as well. So no longer will we see that mass exodus of these kids heading over to Aussie systems and never to return, or to return right at the end of their careers when we buy them back. And then captain and lock Lennox Tuiloma, he was named player of the match. Massive congratulations to all involved, mate. Like, what you can say is up the wires. How good is that?
It was fantastic. I didn't get to watch all the game, but I watched a lot of the second half, and it was very impressive. I talked about it last night that it's a good starting point for these kids. You know, not every single one's going to end up being an NRL first grader. Not every single one's going to end up staying a Warrior, but if you can keep the lion's share and develop them, it's great for the pathways. I also talked about TJ, the coach. He was my halfback last time I played. Back in the day.
Okay.
Like I said, he wouldn't remember me if he
was feeding the beast.
Yeah. But he's a young, talented guy that's gone into the coaching game. And it's good to see. I think I said last night, the last thing I wanted to see with the pathways is just every team coached by an Australian that we've dragged over here. I wanted a mix to the biggest complaint we've always heard on radio and everything here is there's no Kiwi coaches. You know, it's all Australians. So getting guys like TJ that are young, you got a guy like Webster that you can learn off, you know, and you've got a genuine pathway with all these teams now. You can go, I'm Harold Matts. In a couple of years, I want to be, you know, the next team up. I want to, you know, SG Ball and all that. Get to New South Wales Cup, then, you know, take over from Webster. That can be a legitimate goal you can have now. So it's not just the player-based thing. If we can get a good coach base, you know, you could have all the young talent in the world. If you've got shit coaches, they're not going to help. So, yeah, I think it's all around. But yeah, it's a great start. And yeah, why would you want to go to Australia if your team's the one winning? You know?
Yeah, that's right. You stay in the system. You bide your time. There's like a realistic pathway in place now. Something we haven't had throughout all those COVID years. One of the best things that Robbo did last year, and we probably won't realize how significant that is. Really, like, get the full concept of it until these guys are in our team winning us first grade premierships. I mean, how good would that be? The future's so bright for the club, which is amazing. It's something we haven't been able to say for a while.
Yeah, and it's all future planning. You're not going to see a single kid in this team playing first grade next year or anything like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
real like future planning, which is great. We kind of always just had like those under 20s, and you know, you'd get 2 or 3 of those that you would get, and everyone else would get dispersed because there was nowhere else for them to go. So yeah, getting them in and getting them to buy into what the Warriors are at this early age, you know, it's going to be so much harder for them to want to leave. You know, they'd want to stay as a one club player. Hopefully, that's a rare commodity nowadays in this day and age. But
it certainly is. We can get something like the Panthers. If it's anything like the Panthers system, you know, everyone bags Gus for his 5-year plan that turned into a 7 to a 10-year plan, but you know they're bearing the fruits of that now, which is yeah, as you can see, it's 3 straight premierships. So I'm not saying we're going to definitely go on and do something like that, but you got to have it in place to be able to benefit from it. So yeah, very, very exciting for the club. Always good to have a little bit of silverware in the cupboard there to go with our 2 under-20s premiership trophies that we got there. But yeah, it's very, very good. And you're just rounding out those results. Jersey Flegg, Warriors versus Panthers, North Harbour Stadium. The Warriors got their second win of the year, 28-20 over the Panthers. All right. Going around the grounds, we'll quickly go through some of the other ANZAC Day games. And after our match, it was the traditional clash between the Roosters and your Dragons. Your then informed Dragons at Allianz Stadium. Mate, 60 points to 18. Roosters, Manu 2, Butcher 2, Young, Crichton, Walker, Kiri, Tedesco, Suoliti tries. Walker 10 from 10. And the Dragons 18. Seward, DeBellin, Eisenhuth tries. Lomax 3 from 3. Before this game, I actually thought the Dragons were an outside chance of an upset, but I think from the very first tackle of the game, we saw that it wasn't going to be their day. Any thoughts or comments on this one?
Well, I got to miss the start because I was obviously at the Warriors game and I was stuck in traffic trying to get home to watch it. So the game was over basically by the time I got home. The Roosters were well and truly ahead. I was keeping up with it on the fantasy app because I couldn't get my Sky Go app to go. But it was just I didn't expect the Dragons to win, but I expected it to be one of those tight games you see between these two, regardless of where they are on the ladder. They always seem to come through and have like a real close clash on ANZAC Day. But no, it was great to see. I was very depressed after that Warriors game. Seeing the Dragons get toasted makes my weekend better. So,
but what does it say about us, though? What does that say about us?
It has me very concerned about playing the Roosters. What is it next week?
Yeah. Yes.
It has me worried because this Roosters team, when they're on like this is what they do. They just left, right, center, they'll score. And their defense is actually really good as well, where they're not like the Broncos, where the Broncos will go and score 50 points, but you're going to get 20 or so yourself. They can restrict you. And if we're playing that same way that we've been playing, talking about that attack, you could be seriously looking at an old ANZAC Day Melbourne Storm result for us if we're not careful. But I thought the Roosters were fantastic. It was really hard to pinpoint anything negative about them. I think it was a big statement game for them. I know it was only against the Dragons, but the Dragons, as up and down as they've been this year, they've actually fronted in most of the games.
They haven't been terrible. Even you have to admit that.
So to put 60 on them, I think was a real big statement. And the Dragons, they just, it was errors basically. They let themselves down, which has been an ongoing theme for a lot of the defeated teams this year. You could almost pin it a lot on just the fact they got no respect for the ball. Yeah,
for sure. Common theme. And speaking of ANZAC Days and absolute pummelings, well, the Storm, true to form, put on another 54 points on ANZAC Day. Thankfully, this time it wasn't against us. It was against the hapless Rabbitohs. 54 points to 20. Coates with a hat-trick, Pappenhausen 2, Warbrick, Grant, Munster and Chan tries, Meaney 7 from 11. Rabbitohs 20, Gagai with a double, Milne and Murray tries, Hawkins 2 from 4. As we said, different ANZAC Day opponent, same result for the Storm. They were just way too good. The Rabbitohs put a little bit of a fight in that second half, but they just weren't up. They just weren't in the same league as the Storm that night. Xavier Coates, first half hat trick. He did leave with a hamstring injury though. But he had spiders all over him again. So did Munster. Munster couldn't be tackled. He was just unbelievable, looking good for us Queensland fans leading up to Origin. But the Rabbitohs, the big talking point about them this week has been Jason Demetrio, who is now the ex-coach. The axe finally fell. I mean, it wasn't a great surprise. Everyone saw it coming, but you do sort of feel for the bloke having to go through that, being on death row for must have felt like for most of this season.
Yeah, I feel for him. I think it is the right call. They need to do something, and it's a lot easier to sack one guy than it is to go and say we're going to get rid of Latrell and Cody and all these guys that aren't delivering for what we're paying them. It's a hell of a lot easier just to wipe the slate and go, hopefully another coach can come in and get something out of them.
Yeah, get the best out of them, eh? Get them
So unlike that first game with the Dragons Roosters, this was a score I was expecting. I was expecting the Rabbits. They haven't been playing well. No one wants to play Melbourne on ANZAC Day.
Absolutely not.
I did expect it, but yeah, Jason Demetrio, I don't know. It's probably one of the hardest jobs around, that when you lose, being a head coach of a sporting team, it's not like you can not do well, get sacked, and then immediately find a first grade coaching job somewhere else. You're kind of stuck. There's not. Well, I think we did your prediction show. I think a lot of us were of the opinion no coaches were going to get sacked this year. We were kind of all happy. And there's been two that everyone's been talking about consistently since basically round one. So we got our guy gone. Whoever they're bringing in, I know there's still a lot of Bennett talk. We talked about it at length last night. I know we talked about it today in our group chat.
Yes.
I've heard rumors today through some of my other sources that Bennett's really interested in the Parramatta job, if that was available, but has apparently been told that they're gonna give Arthur more time. So it might get to a point where he might become the Rabbitohs coach, but it's because it's the only coaching job there.
Yeah.
And he refuses to retire. So he's earned the right.
Option. Yeah, he has.
He's not.
Absolutely. Yeah, the super coach, the genuine super coach.
I honestly believe, I got in trouble for saying it a few weeks ago, I honestly believe he'll die as a head coach. I don't think he's going to stop. That's not a negative thing. I feel like this is something he's extremely passionate about. He's going to go until he physically can't. And yeah, he's not a long-term option, but I feel he might be, if he's, I don't really know anyone else out there that you could say will give the team to them and they'll make the Rabbits better. I think, being a conspiracy theorist, I think Wayne Bennett goes back. He does like a 1 or 2 year stint. By that time, Sam Burgess's Warrington job's over. He comes back maybe. That was kind of always the plan, that Sam would eventually be the head coach there. I know there's some bad blood between them, both sides at the moment with his exit, but and so Jacko said the cameras will go out to the coach's box and Bennett will take his last breath. Yeah. I feel like, I don't think there's any other way he would like to go out, to be honest. But I fully expect Sam Burgess to be back there as head coach. So if that is their hindsight idea, they've got Warrington aren't letting him out of his deal. And I think it's a 2 or 3 year deal. So at the end of this year, it's 2 more years. If they say Bennett, give us 2.
Come in and do the same thing as he's done at the Dolphins.
He's got a relationship with Sam as well. Then Sam comes in. Next week they'll announce that it's Jason Riles or someone, and I'm completely wrong. I've just one-track mind on this idea I've got, which I've probably stolen from someone else.
Or if Ben Hornby gets them firing, maybe he's been an assistant coach for a long time, so who knows? Like you never sort of rule out that kind of thing.
He's made some interesting changes this week. So we'll see.
Oh, he had to. Yeah. We'll quickly go through the other ANZAC Day games. So on the Friday night, it was the Sea Eagles versus Eels at 4 Pines Park. So 32-18 win to the Sea Eagles. Eels actually, speaking of coaches teams with coaches under pressure. We talked about Brad Arthur a little bit there. They started well. They got out to a 14-6 halftime lead. But then Manly just came out and put their foot down, scored a few tries to get the lead back. Mike Acevo, he scored his 7th career hat-trick, and Ruben Garrick scored his 15th career double. and 6 from 6, so he got 20 points. But geez, how costly was the Sevo sin bin? So he ruled himself out for the last 10 minutes, but basically cost Parramatta the game. Manly were good enough to put the game to bed, and that was all she wrote.
I was going to say, how many times can you say that about a game where a player got a hat trick and it cost his team the game?
Yeah. That's the definition of a mixed game. Yeah.
Yeah. They were in this game. They could have easily got this win, but they just let themselves down. Couldn't kick their conversions, which was a massive blow.
Yeah, left a lot of points out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a lot of ill discipline. And Manly just plug away like they do.
Yeah, they're looking like a real contender this year, Manly. And yeah, always very hard to beat there at Four Pines. Saturday, first game on Saturday was the West Tigers versus the Broncos at Campbelltown. As you would expect, the Broncos were far too good. The cramping Broncos, should we say, 34 points to 10. I've never seen two players get hit with cramps so badly at the end of the game. Apparently, they came out saying it's something to do with Reece Walsh's diet. He doesn't eat enough carbs or something like that. I don't know. But did you know Reece Walsh was playing? Because Vossi didn't mention it much on the commentary, did he? He only said that the Tigers cheerleaders, or was it the cheerleaders or the ball boys, were there queuing
up. Ball boys
up
wear socks and stuff.
Yeah, to get Reece Walsh's autograph. I was like, yeah, conflict of interest much, but Broncos far too good. And yeah, Reece Walsh again, superstar Reece Walsh. Back to his brilliant best. Him and Reynolds though getting in the case of the cramps, and they finally got. They were down 34-0. Tigers scored the last two tries of the game. Bit of a freak try for the last one, but Broncos doing what we would have expected.
Yeah, Walsh's Coke diet's not really working for him. He needs to have some actual food. But yeah, they were just a different class to the Tigers. I thought the Tigers never gave up, which is a great it's kind of like a backhanded compliment, going, well, you did your best, lads. But with what we've expected from the Tigers in the past, I think it's a real show in their improvement in character under Benji. And, I think Uppy should have got his try. I'll die on that hill.
Yep.
It's not going to change the game. They're still going to lose. But, the fact that they didn't give up, basically those two tries in like the last 10 minutes almost showed they were willing to try to end on a positive note. And, I think they've been tracking tremendously well for the most criticised team in Sydney. I think they've been doing really well under Benji. So, losing by 24 is not great, but this probably would have been a 50-point loss last year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they're looking much better than the side that picked up those wooden spoons. So, and I think everyone wants to see the Tigers do better. I mean, you don't want to see a team stuck at the bottom for too long.
It's the Dragons.
And for you, the Dragons. The last game on your Super Saturday, Cowboys versus Panthers up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Very, very good game, very entertaining game. Panthers 26-20 victors, and it was a return of the cyborg, Nathan Cleary. And there was that bizarre justification for leaving Taruva out of the side. Apparently he's a bit weary from doing contract negotiations all week, so thought it was best to leave him out, and he was dropped for Paul Alamotti, who had a very good game, I must say. And I've never heard of that one before.
I love Nathan. Ivan. Don't get me wrong.
Don't we all? Don't we all have a soft spot for him?
But I still have part of me that really doesn't like what he did to the Tigers. And so when he gives these things, it feels like it's a great excuse to say, but I don't buy it. Sure, it's great to give the guy a week off, but it just felt for me on the other side of the fence to say he signed to another team and you immediately drop him. With all the negotiations Jerome Luai was doing, he didn't drop him. And how many other players has he had that have got signed to other teams? James Fisher-Harris, I would see James Fisher-Harris's one as more of that's emotionally spent. You need to have a rest because he was asking to break his contract to go home, as opposed to Taruva's contract's up. He took the better deal. But yeah, it is what it is. Alamotti did what we all expect from the Panthers when a guy isn't there and the next one comes in and
next man up. Yeah,
does a great job. So yeah, great for him. He's probably just put a little retention flag out there to Cleary to say when Taruva's gone next year, I'll happily take that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Sorry, someone wants to make a cameo on the video here.
Honestly,
never work with animals or children, they say. Yeah, milestone games though. Brian To'o, 100th game, and he celebrated that in fine style with a typical To'o try at the start there. 100 games. Kyle Felt 200, and Chad Townsend 250. 40 odd, I think 46 of those for our Warriors. So yeah, a little bit of Warriors flavour there. Yeah, look, the Panthers got out to a 24-4 lead. The Cowboys came back into it, but yeah, Panthers showed the quality sides when the going gets tough. They got into the trenches and they defended and they held on to their lead and did what they needed to do to close that one out. So yeah, so they are still looking very strong this year. And yeah, the Cowboys are a bit of a team like us. They're sort of up and down, and you can't really get a real good read on them, but yeah, no, it was certainly an entertaining match there for sure. Moving on to Sunday, Dolphins versus the Knights at Suncorp Stadium. It was the Knights, 18-14 upset, you have to say, over the Dolphins.
Ruined my multi, Rob.
Destroyed your multi. Yep, that's what they do. No Kalen Ponga, no worries. A dream debut for young David Armstrong. He scored the opening try of the match, and they played in a very aggressive attacking game. Dolphins extremely disappointing, and yeah, again, talking about inconsistent teams, the Dolphins after last week, that second half blitz they had against the Eels, but yeah, they scored 2 late tries to make the scoreline a little bit more respectable, but the Knights were definitely the better side, and yeah, Armstrong looks to be a bit of a find there, and a different type of player to Kalen Ponga, but still had a very good game. How did you see that one, apart from you cursing them for ruining your multi?
I thought the Dolphins were going to keep my multi alive at the end there, but it wasn't to be. But yeah, the Knights, I think I said last night, I think at times they play better without Ponga. I know the stats don't say that because I think they win 38% of the time without Ponga. But yeah, I think it opens them up a bit more attacking-wise. I feel a bit like what we just talked about with Sean at the Warriors.
Yeah,
we're kind of Sean heavy right now, where the Knights are very Ponga heavy, and rightly so with what he can do for them. But without him there, they're kind of giving other players in that attack a bit more of an opportunity, and they're either going to sink or swim. And in this case, they swam. So I think Armstrong's first try, was a nice inside ball from Hastings. Yeah. That's potentially not something we see with a Ponga play. So in that situation, if Ponga's there, they'd probably score on the outside as opposed to coming back in. But yeah, I give them a lot more credit now. I thought they played really well without Ponga. There was still some struggles creating attacks in the second half, which I'm hoping is a trend we're going to see this week. So the Warriors can really have a decent shot. But yeah, the Dolphins, again, only themselves to blame. I think they had 15 errors in this game. That's I put it as very black and white. 15 errors is 15 sets you've given away.
Yeah, that's right. That's a lot of
you can't expect, they're not going to score off every one of those sets, but you give any team in the NRL 15 extra sets, odds are they're going to beat you, which is what happened. Yeah, unfortunate for the Dolphins though.
Yeah, it was for sure. And rounding out the Anzac Day weekend of footy, long weekend of footy, was the Raiders versus Sharks at GIO Stadium. An absolute fighting, 40 points to 0. The Sharks over the Raiders, completely dominant display. And yeah, the Raiders are just another one of those teams that seem to be up and down and hot and cold. And they give you a bit of a hint that they're going to do something, and then they turn out a performance like this. Maybe it's because they're wearing those camouflage jerseys and they all blended into the field, so they couldn't even see each other when they were passing. I don't know, but the Raiders kept scoreless for the first time since 2013, and mate, what a performance for Ricky Stewart's 500th game as an NRL coach.
Yeah. They just didn't want to give him a game on his 500th where he'd sit there happy in the presser. They wanted a standard.
You want vintage sticky, yeah. Yeah.
It was just. I think I've got it in my stats here. They had 12 errors and 64 missed tackles. It's just shocking. It seemed like everything they did went downhill, and the Sharks, they were just on fire. I had a bit of hesitation on it with Trindle having the week off due to his extracurricular activities.
Yes.
I thought him and Hunt were just Hines were just starting to click into a decent halves pairing. But I think Nico it's probably the best game I've seen from him in some time. Probably the first time he's actually deserved 3 Dally M points this year. Actually. So actually
earned them. Yeah.
I think there was that intercept he got out of nowhere and all sorts. He was just everywhere. Sione Katoa was having a great day. It's kind of makes me happy that we played them when we did, because I feel like if we'd been playing them now, we might have been in trouble.
For sure.
It does make that narrow loss to them have a bit of an asterisk next to it going that the Sharks actually aren't.
Sharks are a legit team. They're not just the flat track bullies the last couple of years. Yeah. Oh, well, so looking at the ladder, so the Sharks, they remain at the top of the competition with the Storm in second place. They're both on 14. Panthers in third on 12. Sea Eagles moving into the top 4 on 11. Broncos in 5th. And the Dolphins have slipped to 6th, both on 10 points. Roosters on 7th on 8 points, sorry. The Bulldogs, they move into the top 8, and they're on 8th spot. Both of those teams are on 8 points. Cowboys, Raiders, Dragons all drop out of the top 8 to 9th, 10th, and 11th, respectively. All of them also on 8 points, but out on differential. Warriors, unfortunately, we can continue our slide down the ladder, and it's 12th spot on 7 points. And the Knights, Eels, and Tigers in 13th, 14th, and 15th on 6. The Titans, they got their first win of the season. They leave the Rabbitohs rounding out the ladder, on last place on the ladder. They're both on 4 points. Another big story of the week. We got to mention this. Paul Kent, the polarizing co-anchor of NRL 360 over here. A bit of a viral video came out of him displaying his fighting skills or lack thereof. Mate, what's going on with that guy? He's only just back from his indiscretions of last year, or alleged indiscretions, I should say, from last year. And what do you make of that video?
We've all seen it, obviously. It was a great bit of footage there.
Entertainment.
It's he's clearly a man who is really good at controlling his emotions. It's hard to give him sympathy with how he acts when players, get out on the grog. And, we've seen so many memes about it this week, and like footage of him. Like, I think there's a lot showing about him talking about the Panthers when they went on that drunken bender, and they weren't doing anything bad. It was just, he was like, they got no class. They're out there drinking and, being dicks. And, they're, early 20s, and he's, what is he? Is he 56 or something?
He'd be, early to mid 50s, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's out doing worse. He's out, getting lippy. And from what I've read, the guy that was involved is said he did nothing to provoke it. Paul Kent seems to be of the opinion that that there was a bit of something that encouraged it, but it's not what you do.
I mean, you act like a civilized human being, right?
I know. I've seen some other content creators, I guess we call it, standing by Kent on Twitter and that. I think that's probably just a backhanded way to stay in Fox's good boots so he can take his job later. But
yes.
I don't think there's anywhere for him to stand. And he's obviously got an issue with the grog.
Can't handle it at all. This is that far from the first time that he's been reported to have done this sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And with how much the NRL is, punished players that have got, into drinkies and put the game into disrepute, I think journalists that cover it as their sole job basically have to fall under that same catchment. So if Fox aren't going to do anything, I think the NRL has to do something. I expect him not to lose his job. I think I was explaining it to my mum actually today. He's Fox's cash cow. He is what everyone talks about. 9 times out of 10, he says something completely wrong. One time he'll say something that you can agree with, but everything he says, we all talk about. How many times have we talked about something stupid he's done or said?
It's like a shock jock kind of thing.
Yeah, which I think Jacko might have actually said on our show last night. It was either Jacko or Paul. One of them said he's basically a shock jock. Which
Howard Stern kind of guy that says controversial stuff just to get reactions out of people.
Which, don't get me wrong, that's how I live my life when I'm not doing the standoff. I've got an hour to 2 hours a week where I keep that in. But I say stuff to get a rise out of people all the time. So I get that, but that's the byproduct of that is you're gonna cop some shit. And if you know that when you're drinking too much, if someone gives you grief, you're going to respond in a negative way like that. Especially in that video, you saw there were countless people telling him to, it's not worth it.
Kenty.
Stop. And he refused to listen.
No, he went straight into it head first.
Yeah. So
literally
I don't
head first.
Yeah. And it's not a good look, but at least it's not players this time. You do kind of can put that distance to it to go, well, it's not the players on the field doing it. It's a journo. But he's a flog.
I mean, every now and then I sort of find myself agreeing with him and going, oh yeah, maybe. There are times. There's times where I go, like he's actually telling it how it is, and I think he was right when he was calling out some of this bad behaviour from players, like that history of the New South Wales team having players going out and Blake Ferguson. We won't get started on him, but and Josh Dugan, those blokes going off and drinking midweek during an Origin game and everything, and he rightfully came down heavily on those guys. But I mean, if you're going to go out and do the same thing,
if you're going to
seriously,
you can be right to criticize those players, but you can't do the same thing and expect a different response from the people.
Jacko, isn't that what Aussies do? Get pissed and have a rumble. Most of the time. Yeah.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time.
Not at that age to get someone that's that much
younger. When we're not having a shrimp on the barbie, of course.
Yeah.
Oh well, moving on from old Kenty, we'll see how that plays out. I reckon I actually think this might be the end for him. Fox will say he's too much of a liability. So
he did get charged. He did get charged last night while we were on our show. Charged with a fray, which is basically getting into a fight in public. What happens?
Now we've got to listen to Now we've got to listen to old Head Knocks Graham. He does it in his own way, doesn't he? Me personally, I'm not a massive fan. I can't listen to him, but I know there's a lot of people out there that like him. So each to their own. But I think we may have him as the co-anchor on 360 for at least the rest of this season. So anyway, we'll see how that plays out. But it was great entertainment, wasn't it, for a Sunday morning? Out at Rozelle in Sydney, one of the ritzy sort of suburbs near Balmain. So that's what happens when you're a big shot journalist on Fox Sports. But there you go. Anyway, moving on, we do have a game this weekend against the Newcastle Knights in McDonald Jones Stadium down there in Newcastle. Bit of a history. This is going to be our 51st match against the Knights. So we actually, with our victory earlier this season at Go Media, we took the lead in the overall head-to-head, 25 wins to the Knights 24, and there was one draw. That was back in 2000, Mount Smart Stadium. And it's one of those interesting rivalries where in the early days, we really struggled to beat them because the Johns boys and, Andrew Johns just got the better of us almost every time. We had that famous 42-0 win over them in 99, I think. But other than that, they had a really strong record against us until probably the back end of the 2000s. That's when we got the majority of our wins. And since then, I think we've won more than we've lost. But they're going to be tough opposition this weekend, particularly coming off a win like that. So the team that was named, we got Chancellor Klukstad, Dallin Watene-Zalesniak, Marcelo Montoya on the wings, Rocco Berry and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in the centres, Timade Martin and Sean Johnson the halves, Adam Fanua-Blake, Wade Egan and Mitch Barnett up front. On the edge, we got Jacko Ford, Kurt Capewell returning, and Tohu Harris. And on the bench, you touched on it briefly before, but it's three of the four preferred bench spots are now back on deck. Dylan Walker, Tom Arley, Jacob Laban, Bunty Arfoa. Extended bench, Adam Pompey, Zion Maiu, Ed Corsi, Tain Tuapiki, Tanner Stowers-Smith. I think the only surprise for me, and I know that you'll agree with this, is Zion missing out on the game day squad. I thought as good as Jacob Laban has been for, the first couple of games, he did look a little bit out of his depth on the weekend. Didn't have his greatest game against the Titans. I was thinking maybe this would be a good opportunity for him to have a bit of a rest and continue Zion's momentum. Are you expecting a late change there at all, or how do you see the team lining up on Sunday?
I'm not sure. That was the argument I had last night, and I think Richard bamboozled me enough to talk myself out of it because he was just asking why. Basically, if you have Zion instead of Jacob, what's your prop rotation look like with Dylan, Tom, Zion, and Bunty, all middle players essentially? How are you fitting them all in? I still think there's a way you can do it, but with Jacob, I think I said it in our chat as well, Ford Capewell usually play 80 minutes, so we might see Jacob's debut where he got 5 to 8 minutes, I think maybe. I expect if he is still there come Sunday, he'll get a 5 to 8 minute spell in there, which I think's a waste. I would rather, I think I said it to Richie, I would rather give 5 to 8 minutes to Zion than 5 to 8 minutes to Jacob, just because I think with how Zion plays, you'll get more out of that 5 to 8 minutes than what Jacob can do. I think Jacko said Laban looks jaded. I think it is. I think it's hard doing first grade. As someone who's played 0 first grade games, I can tell you it's really hard. Playing it week in, week out at his age as well. It's not something you expect everyone to hit the ground running. I know we've got guys like Cleary and that did it nice and young, but they're in the halfback role. We're not playing in the forwards. It's a whole lot of pressure for another reason. But going in there against those big boys and expecting to do it week in, week out, it's not easy. We saw it with Tom last year. Tom was really getting into the groove, and then he kind of fizzled out of the team because they went a bit too hard.
Yeah, the back end. Yeah, he did.
So I feel until you get all the big boys back, I think a 2-3 spell for the young guys, like Jacob's had 2 or 3 games, give Zion 2 or 3, go back to Jacob if you want, alternate until you get your Maratas and that back. So to give them some experience, give them some rest going back down to New South Wales Cup. But yeah, I know I want to see Zion because he's my Ben Murdoch Masilla of the 2024s.
Yes, for this year. Yep.
I love him to bits, so I want to see him there. But that's the only one I see changing.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully the attack is on song. We're going to need to score some points this week. So we all know that Sean's playing on one leg, but hopefully he gets a bit more support from Timade Martin this week. And we need AFB and Barnett to continue to lay that platform. we just need get Egan out of dummy half and try and add a few extra elements to our attack. And hopefully we don't just resort to what we've been trying to do: face balls, barge overs, kicks to the corner. Because I'm expecting a very tough game out there. Always is a tough game out there in Newcastle. Their centres worry me as well. Bradman Best, in the last couple of years, he's become one of the best centres in the game. He's a real powerhouse, very hard to handle. And Dane Gagai as well. He always plays well against us. They're both representative players now, over 20 carries a game. We got to watch out, put pressure on that young guy at the back, Armstrong, in his second game, and of course put kick pressure on Jackson Hastings and Tyson Gamble as well. Where do you see us winning this game, and what's your prediction, score prediction?
I think I said Warriors to win by 4. Super tight. I think you open this whole game up if you get the middle rolling forward and if Egan can start doing those runs. Whenever he's running, when they've kept him restricted, that's when everything kind of takes a step back. If he is, it just opens everything up. If they know that Egan's always sharp to go up the middle, they're going to tighten, which opens up the edges a bit more, and everything kind of flows from there. So that's the big thing. It's Adam, Mitch do what they've been doing every week. When those other boys come on, they've got to keep that intensity up. Bunty brings improved middle defense, which we've been lacking since he's gone. When he comes on, he really shores up the middle defensively. It's his biggest attribute since he doesn't contribute as much to the running meters. But yeah, I think it's the cliche, win the middle and half the battle's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going for a very, very nervous Sunday afternoon game. I'm going to go Warriors like 18-16. I think it's going to be one of those games where we either just hang on or we get a late try to win it. Yeah. They're a tough, gritty side. They're not an extravagant side, especially not without Ponga, but they'll be in the fight, and especially at home when that parochial Newcastle crowd gets behind them. I'm sure they'll have confidence sky high after last week as well. So expect a nervous pacing around your living room kind of game, or in the stadium if you are going out there. I know the Warrior Nation guys will be going out there. If you're interested in that, get in touch with Richie Morgan. I'm sure there'll be a meetup before the game as well. Okay, we'll quickly just go through the other round 9 games, and we'll just give a bit of a tip. So Thursday night, the Under Siege Rabbitohs versus Panthers at Accor Stadium. Rabbitohs, Kolomatangi moves to the front row, Michael Cheekham to the back row. Panthers, Taruva returns after his signing fatigue, and Moses Leota returns in the front row. Mate, I'm going to go the Panthers by about 20 in this one. I think they'll continue the Rabbitohs' misery. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't pick a scoreline, but I've got Panthers. I think easy. Panthers, easy money.
All right, Friday night, your early game is the Seagulls versus the Raiders at Four Pines Park. Daly Cherry Evans named to play despite facing a 2-game ban. Hamole Olakalatu out with the 2-week suspension. Ethan Bullymore to start in the back row, and the Raiders, Albert Hopewade at fullback. Nick Kotrich on the wing, and Elliot Whitehead returns from injury. I can't see anything but a big Sea Eagles win here. I reckon it'd be similar to last week, win by 18.
Yeah, tick me for the same.
Yep. Broncos versus Roosters at Suncorp Stadium. Broncos back to that Friday night game after being forced to play Saturday night games for the last 2 weeks. I don't know how they got that deal over the line, but they're like, sorry, we'll give you your Friday night slot back. But this is what a game this is shaping up to be. At Suncorp Stadium, the Broncos, Selwyn Cobbo returns in the centres. Ezra Mam returns at 5'8". They're pretty close to full strength. I did hear that Payne Haas has a little bit of a niggle. He's re-aggravated his knee injury, but I think at this stage he's expected to play. And for the Roosters, Daniel Tupou returns on the wing. This is going to be a rip snorter of a game out there at Suncorp. I'm going to stick with the Broncos. I think it'll be tight. I'm going to go the Broncos by 6.
Yeah, I would go Broncos by 10. I think at home. If it was in Sydney, I'd go the other way. But yeah, I've gone Bronx.
And we've got a viewer from Papua New Guinea. Great to have you, mate. Hope your team gets into the competition in a couple of years. Okay, moving on to Saturday, and the Bulldogs versus the Tigers at Accor Stadium. The Bulldogs, Josh Curran named in the front row. Kurt Mann named at lock. Tigers, no change to the 17. Look, the Bulldogs are starting to sort of warm to the task, and I feel they could be a bit of a sleeping giant in this competition. I think they'll have a very comfortable 12-point win over the Tigers on Saturday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it'll be comfortable. They'll trot out to an easy win, I think. I'm hoping it's going to be tighter than I'm expecting, but yeah, Bulldogs should get it done.
Yeah, okay. Second game of your Super Saturday. Wouldn't be a Super Saturday without Sheba Super Stadium, and that's the Titans versus the Storm. It's normally a pretty good game between these two teams. Titans always seem to get up for the match against the Storm. So for the Titans, we got Phil Sami returning on the wing. Storm, no changes to the 17. Despite the fact they had too much for us last week and defended like their lives depended on it. I think it may catch up with them this week. The Storm will be way too good. I'm expecting a big Storm victory over the Titans.
Yeah, I'm expecting it too. I'm only hoping that it's a hard-fought, close win by the Storm so we can sit here and go, look how good the Titans actually are.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. So, but no, I'm expecting maybe not at the same big scoreline as we saw on ANZAC Day, but pretty close.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because you think the Titans will still get a few tries. I mean, they've got speed to burn on the as we've seen. And I can remember watching a game against these two teams a while ago now, but it was like the scoreline was like 38-34 or something like that. Plenty of tries. So it always seems to come out in these contests. And the final game on the Super Saturday, another what's shaping up to be a pretty good game, is the Cowboys versus the Dolphins up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. Cowboys, Viliami Vailea, someone we know very well, making his debut for the Cowboys in the centres. Hilam Lukey returns to the bench. Dolphins, Felice Kafusi returns in the back row. And Connolly Lemu-Elu returns on the bench. I think the Cowboys and the Dolphins are quite similar this year. They played in round one. The Cowboys had a big win. I think they might just be too good for the Dolphins up there. But I think, again, there'll be a lot of points scored.
Yeah, this was a flip of the coin match for me. I went with Cowboys at home. I could easily argue why either team would win this. But yeah, I'm going with home advantage, and I want to see how Vailea goes. And it is his official first game for the Cowboys, right?
I believe so. It'd be interesting to see. He showed plenty of potential offensively. He was very good for us, but he did have his struggles defensively. And we watched a little bit of him in New South Wales Cup, and he still struggled there. So hopefully he's put that to rest, and he can kick on and can continue his career in the NRL with Cowboys or wherever. It's always good to see these guys get an opportunity and to make something of it. So all best of luck to Billy. Sunday, the first game is back to that 2:00 time slot over here in Australia and 4:00 for you guys over there. Knights versus Warriors. We've already given our tips on this. We're both expecting a very, very tight Warriors victory, or hoping, I should say, for a very, very tight Warriors victory. We'll take it any way we can get it at this stage.
Yep.
And the second game, you'll be loving this. The match of the day, the Sharks versus the Dragons at PointsBet Stadium. Sharks, no changes. Dragons, no changes. And I think that there'll be no change to the Sharks form. I think they'll be putting a big score on the Dragons out there at PointsBet Stadium. May not be 40-0, but I expect the Sharks to win comfortably. Yourself?
Yeah. Sharks by anywhere between 20 to 40, 60. Let's see how 60. Much they can put. See if the Dragons can get 60 on them 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, okay, that'd be something, eh?
Yeah, I feel the Sharks, their attack's been too good. So yeah, it would take a miracle for the Dragons, I think, to come back from such a big defeat up against
Flano, though. Flano back to his old stomping ground, or his old lab, as we would say.
He has been talking about this game. So it is one he said he had marked on the calendar before the season started. So if there's any game the Dragons are going to front up for their coach, it's going to be this one. But I think that Sharks team's humming along too good right now.
Yeah, they're looking ominous, aren't they? Okay, well, that's the round review, the round preview as well. Next week, we'll be back live on Wednesday, 8th of May. That's 7 p.m. To review the Warriors round 9 game against the Knights, hopefully a win. And our round 10 Mother's Day game against the Roosters at Allianz. Gee, it doesn't get any easier, does it? So that will be our second of our 3-leg series of away games. So we have the Knights, Roosters, and then Panthers. You couldn't ask for probably 3 tougher away games. But is what it is, and we will roll with the punches. Before we wrap it up, though, for the night, again, I just want to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters, especially our Patreon supporters, for your continued support. And I want to give a shout-out to our Gold Patreons. That's Alf Tuolave. Alf, your shirt is in the mail. It's ready for you to pick up. I've heard Malcolm Earnshaw, Chris Wellington, Nigel Phillips, Lisa Marie Bateman, Sean Whiskey, Ken Wills. Your shirt is on the way, Ken, and Stevie Williams. Any of you guys, we are doing our first round of shirts. That comes with your gold member Patreon support a package. So please get in touch with us and we'll organise a shirt for you. And if you do want to show our support, you can head to our Patreon page. The link is on the screen. Subscribe to our bronze tier general support. That's just $3 a month, or you can go silver and gold. And that does include support of merchandise as well from our store. And speaking of which, if you do want to grab yourself some brand new threads, the next game, head along to our Redbubble store. We've got some great new designs up there. I've updated some of the player designs. So check out a new design for Wade Egan, DWZ, and I've got a new RTS shirt up there. So if it tickles your fancy, jump on there. Your support is greatly appreciated. We do make a small percentage out of every sale. So it does go a long way, and it goes straight back into the show. Jump on there and grab yourself a bargain. Mate, I cannot thank you enough for coming on, and at very late notice. I dead set told him about 45 minutes before we went live. I got the word that Hammer was out with a late niggle. Really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us, mate. And I know you love talking footy, so yeah, great to have you on.
Yeah, I just don't know. Hammer's meant to be the former footy player, and he's built a bit soft, mate. But yeah, always happy to jump on when needed. If I could talk about League 24/7, I'd be a happy man. So yeah, always happy to jump on and give you a hand when needed.
I hear that. Yeah. So thanks. Yeah. Again. Yeah. Greatly appreciated. Thank you to all you guys who are watching. Thanks for all the comments that were coming through on YouTube and Facebook. Always great to have all you guys in the chat there and join in the conversation. And we will see you guys next Wednesday night. But until then, it's up the Waz.
Go the Warriors.
Take care.